Kyle was kind of iffy about changing the name. I get it. He named this company when he was like 17 years old. So that's a huge blow. And I think that's difficult, to come to that conclusion that it's time to move on from one name to another. So this company took Machine Gun Graphics and tried to rebrand it. Then they had 2 other names and branding marks that they came up with. And then the last one was Cotton Street Apparel. And I felt so bad because we're sitting there, they're giving us the presentation, and Machine Gun Graphics has like 3 marks. Nothing is balanced. And you're kind of like, okay, I guess that's what we do with that. They show us one more with a different name, go for this 3rd one, different name. And then the 4th one was Cotton Street Apparel, all the marks, everything is balanced. The branding is just beautiful. I can actually send you guys like a packet with all the marks in it. You guys can like show that if you want to. It's been so well received since we switched it over. I got to a point, we still collect leads from the new website, but we also still have the old website up because we have a Sage account. So we have all of our promotional products that are on that one. For the first year, I left it completely branded as Machine Gun Graphics, just so that all of our local clientele, as we were doing all of our pushes, would still see that Machine Gun Graphics was still here. We were just rebranding as Cotton Street Apparel. But I was getting leads from Cotton Street Apparel and Machine Gun Graphics. And I wish that I had hard raw data on this, but I got to a point
A/B
about
testing.
2 weeks. Yeah, I got to the point where 2 weeks into January last year, I started noticing leads coming in from both websites. I kept a tally on my desk, and everything coming in from Cotton Street Apparel, right around that 95% mark, was closing.
Really?
And I was getting no pushback on pricing. I didn't have customers arguing with me over garment styles. It's almost like it leveled us up. Whereas Machine Gun Graphics, very few things were closing off of it. And the ones that were, it's I was spending so much time going back and forth with the customers on pricing.
Why do you think that was?
They just didn't value us.
Why the way higher conversion rate? I mean, obviously it sounds a lot more like lovey-dovey than Machine Gun Graphics, but
yeah, I think there's several reasons for that. I think we were getting better SEO ratings. We were getting a lot more traffic on Google. So we're getting more clients, for one, off the new name. For two, we're appealing to a new audience at that point. We were already working with a lot of schools and churches, but we started getting more churches and more schools. And it's almost like we created ourselves as a decorated apparel company and not just a screen printing or graphics company. The other thing I started to notice with Machine Gun Graphics is it had the word graphics at the end of it. And when I was in retail, we used to call shirts graphic t-shirts. And somewhere between my days in retail and now, we don't use graphic anything to describe a t-shirt anymore. Even when you go into retail stores, they don't call them graphic t-shirts anymore. When someone sees the word graphic or graphics, they think graphic designer. They think someone that designs logos, t-shirts, art. And we don't do in-house art. We're strictly just embroidery and screen printing.
There's something I look at. This is really interesting. When I look at a website or a company, Bruce is a great negotiator. Bruce always taught me you should always ask for a better price, no matter what. It could be Taco Bell. Bruce will ask.
Yeah.
No more Taco Bell.
Sorry, you can't have Taco Bell right now. You're on. Yeah.
Well, at least Taco Bell's not what gave you the.
Yeah. We love our Taco Bell.
Issues.
Well, Bruce has a tummy ache. But when you see a really nice brand and it just looks beautiful, you're like, no, that's not a company that negotiates. And you just kind of assume whatever, when it just looks nice from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you see that it's more mom and pop, when you see it's maybe ruggedness or kind of the holes and stuff like that, you're like, oh, I can lean on them. I can push on them. I'm going to be able to negotiate with this guy or this girl, And so I think there's something to be said about having a really nice brand, and it's almost like your front door looks really good and it sets the precedent that we're a high-end company. Which I think is interesting is, if I work with a contract company, I'm always negotiating. If I'm checking out online, you can't negotiate, right? I think that's really, really, really interesting. So for those that were kind of thinking about how much it costs to brand or go through a rebrand, there was something you said there where you found a local company that was talented at this. And I think there's merit in hiring an outside agency. I think that's powerful. We all think we're artists, but when you see how the agencies work, it's a little bit different. And whether you pay them up front or you trade for services, like they're going to need merchandise. So if you printed them, 5 or 10 grand worth of stuff, they could do a whole build for you and like revolutionize your business. But I think it's appropriate to pay anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 for a small business to get rebranded. I don't know. Does that feel right?
I think I've heard the upwards of $10,000 to $15,000,
Okay.
but we asked for a lot more marks than they would typically give with a package like that. The reason we did that is because you get customers all the time that have like these little small rinky dink logos that they've gotten from somewhere, and they don't work across all garments, pins, patches, whatnot. So I had them create me like 10 different marks, and I did it with a purpose of being able to show clients when they were in our door of like, you see this logo, it would not work on this, this item, and this is why. So we got a lot more than most, but yeah, 5 to 15. It also depends on if you want the website. If you don't need them to create that website for you, that's a cost that you can factor out as well.